What is up, everybody? I'm Andrew Abbott. This is A Fitness. First and foremost, take a look at this painting. Isn't it nice? I think so. Anyways, today we're going to cover nutrition, a topic that honestly you could spend hours talking about, but I'm going to condense it, I'm going to simplify it, and I'm going to cover the 3 basic macronutrients, starting with carbohydrates. So, carbohydrates, otherwise known as carbs. These are essentially the fuel for your body. 1 gram of carbohydrates is equivalent to 4 calories. So, some common sources of carbs include fruits, vegetables, grains, so you got your bread, rice, pasta, things like that, and also starches. Now, I don't know if you all have heard of the glycemic index, but this is basically a measure of certain carbohydrates and how they affect your blood glucose levels. So basically, the higher the glycemic index is for a given carbohydrate, that is going to mean that it will raise your blood sugar levels more so than a lower glycemic index. So if you're somebody that needs to care about this, for example, if you have diabetes or if you are overweight, you should really be looking at the glycemic index and focusing on which carbs you should and shouldn't be eating. Also, you want to be getting complex carbohydrates. So some good sources of these are like rice and beans, mac and cheese. But basically, do your own research. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about it. When it comes to the percentages of your macronutrients, carbohydrates are always going to make up the greatest percent. So you got protein, fat, carbohydrates. So those are always going to be a really high percentage. Usually between like 50, I'd say like 40 to 60, depending on the person and their goals. So just a rule of thumb, if you're trying to lose weight or decrease your body fat, usually you're going to want to lower your carbohydrate intake. So especially before bed, that's when you want to kind of cut out your carbs, probably like 2 to 3 hours before you go to sleep. That way, when you finally are going to sleep, your body can use all of the stored carbohydrates that it has in the form of glycogen. So that way you're just not adding to the carbohydrates in your body overnight, and you can actually use what your body already has in it. So, moving on to protein. So, protein's primary function is to build and repair the cellular tissue in your body. You are not going to get very much energy from eating protein. Like I said, its primary function is to build and repair cellular tissue. So, when you're working out, you need to make sure that you are getting a sufficient amount of protein to help in the recovery process. Whether your goal is to gain muscle or lose fat, which can also be done at the same time, you're going to need to get a good amount of protein. 1 gram of protein, just like carbohydrates, is equivalent to 4 calories. So, protein is comprised of molecular chains called amino acids, and there are 22 amino acids altogether, 9 of which are essential, 22 are non-essential, and the non-essential ones are manufactured by your body. But when you are eating protein or consuming protein, you want to make sure you're getting complete proteins, which basically means they include all 9 essential amino acids. Some good sources of complete proteins include meat, obviously, then you got poultry, seafood is a big one that I personally love eating. Nuts, seeds also have a good amount of protein, as well as dairy products, so milk, eggs, cheese. Like I said, protein is not used for energy, but a good rule of thumb to follow, whether you're trying to lose weight or gain muscle, you need to increase your protein intake. So if you're not getting a sufficient amount of protein, you're not going to be able to build and repair the cellular tissue that you're breaking down during exercise. I might have already said that, but I don't care. I'm still keeping it short. Moving on. Last but not least, everyone's favorite macronutrient, fats. So, fat is not bad for you. There are bad kinds of fat, but there are also good kinds that are an essential part of any and every diet. So, before I talk about those kinds of fats, you should know that 1 gram of fat is equivalent to 9 calories. So, what does this mean? This means that you can consume a lot more fat than you actually realize. It's very calorically dense. So, for example, I think 2 tablespoons of olive oil, which, I mean, is really nothing if you think about it. I think there are about 14 or 15 grams of fat in there. So when you multiply that by 9, that's how many calories you're getting. I'm not going to try to do it, but you're going to get a lot of calories just from a small amount of olive oil. That being said, you have to be careful of your fat intake. Also, there's a term that it's metabolically inexpensive. This means that it's very simple to convert fat into body fat. So the fat you're consuming, it's very easy to be converted into body fat. So, like I said, take caution when you are consuming fats. But the fats that you want to avoid are going to be saturated fat as well as trans fat. You're not going to see too much trans fat nowadays. People realize how terrible it is, and the whole idea behind it is that it preserves food longer. But I mean, in the products you buy at the grocery store or whatever, I don't see trans fat rarely. The place where you are going to see it is fast food chains, stuff like that, where they need to preserve food for a long period of time. But the good fats for you, the ones you want to be eating, are your unsaturated fats. So you have monounsaturated and polyunsaturated. And if you look at a typical nutrition label, it's going to list your total fat content, and then it's going to have all 4 of those. So you'll have saturated, you'll have polyunsaturated, monounsaturated, and trans fat. So like I said, mono and polyunsaturated are the ones that you want to be getting. Some good sources of these include extra virgin olive oil, avocados are pretty good fat content, leafy green vegetables, you can get fat from fish oils, and also from nuts and seeds. I know I personally eat a lot of peanut butter, that's where I get a majority of the fat, as well as dairy products. You're going to get some fat in milk and cheese. So, yeah, I think I covered most of what I wanted to. I might have forgotten something, but if you have any remaining questions, just put them in the comment section below. I'll be sure to answer them. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. If you did, be sure to like the video, like the Facebook page, check out my website. If you're interested in training or online coaching, email me. I am done talking. Thank you all for watching. Peace.